So the last part of 5.2, we're going to look at what we did on Wednesday. What day did we start? Monday, Tuesday. I think it was Wednesday. We're going to be solving with substitution. But the difference is you're going to have to get a variable by itself first. Now there's room to write 5 steps. We've already written most of the steps before. So a lot of this is going to be a repeat of Monday. Now, this is a review of what we did yesterday, so you don't have to write that down. In situation 1, you never had to rearrange anything. I always gave you a problem that had a letter by itself on the left. Always. Okay, and in the homework too. But in situation number 2, and this is where you guys can start writing it down, you're going to have to rearrange. What that means is you are going to have to get a variable by itself on one side, just like we did in the one. What letter do you have to get by itself? It doesn't matter. You can get x by itself, you can get y by itself, but you have to get a letter by itself. So let's just review kind of what we did in the warm-up and how do you move something to the other side? Yep.
At the time, all students.
All right, so let's say that you wanted to get this y by itself. There's something here that we don't want, a negative 5x. And the directions above tell you how to get rid of the negative 5x. And it says, do the opposite. That's pretty much the whole key. We have to do the opposite. So can anybody tell me what the opposite of negative 5x would be? 80? Exactly. You do a positive 5x and do it on the other side. And Aiden, when you have a negative 5x and a positive 5x, what happens? They cancel each other out. So this is gone. And look at what you have now. Y equals 26 plus 5x. We rearranged it to isolate the y. We got the y by itself. That's the extra step for today. Let's look at another one like that. Let's say that instead of getting the y by itself, you want to get the x by itself. So look at this side and figure out what's not supposed to be there. It's basically the exact same. I guess it's the same thing you just wrote up above, pretty much. So if we want to get x by itself, what don't we want there? We don't want that negative 4y. So do the opposite. What's the opposite of negative 4y? Yeah. Yeah, so do a positive 4y and a positive 4y. In Cadence, what's negative 4y and positive 4y? Well, remember, we did that because we're trying to move it to the other side. So when you add these together, they cancel out. Yeah. So negative 4y and positive 4y is gone. And now you're left with the x all by itself on the left. So you're going to have to do one of those two things. Either get the x by itself on the left, or get the y by itself. But that's the extra step. So I don't know if I'm going to have you guys write down steps 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 all over again. I'll look at them real quick. But you guys already have those written down from Monday, so I don't think you really need to write them again. But you didn't have this from Monday. That was. Any question on that? Just remember, do the opposite. That's how you move something to the other side. All right. Let me just look at the steps. So step 2, the rest of the steps are going to be the same as yesterday. Put parentheses, plug in again, and then write your final answer. Yeah, so I think there's only one step here that's different. So the only step that I'm going to have you write down is step 1. Because you're going to be given 2 equations, and you have to choose which one you want to rearrange. You do not rearrange both, only one. But this is how you pick which one to do. The idea is pick the easy one. How do you know which one is the easy one? If you have an equation that you can rearrange that already has a single variable with no number attached, that would look something like this. That's an example of equation with a single variable, and there is no number attached to it. That's what you're going to want to try to get by itself. A single variable with no number attached. Then the next sentence says, well, what if both of the equations are single variables? Like, let's say you had something like this. X minus y equals 3. Well, you have to get one of those letters by itself. So now you have a choice. Which one do you want to get by itself? They're both a single variable with no number attached to them. Choose the positive one to get by itself. So if you look at the equation x minus y equals 3, which letter there is the positive one? The x or the y? Yep, x. This would be what I would try and get by itself. The negative y is what I would try to put over on the other side. So we'll do example 1A together. I'm not going to have you write down steps 2, 3, 4, and 5 because they're the same steps in your guided notes from Monday. That's the only new step you need to write. So when it says use the reminders here, the reminders are your guided notes from Monday. If you even need to look at them. But if you wanted to use those guided notes on the test tomorrow, you could. It's up to you. Okay, so here's the one we're gonna try to solve. if you look at both of these equations, does either equation have a letter on the left by itself? Yeah. I see a number on the right by itself. But we're looking for a letter that's all alone on one side. Do we have that? No. We need to have that. We can't do it without having that. So we're going to have to rearrange one of these equations. We can pick either the top one or the bottom one. So we want to pick the easiest one. Is there an equation here that has a letter without a number in front of it? Yeah? Yes, the bottom equation has a letter that's just a single variable. There's no number attached to it. So the bottom one. And can somebody else tell me which letter in the bottom one doesn't have a number attached to it? Yeah? The Y. That's going to be what we want to get by itself. We're going to get that Y by itself. What's on the same side as the Y that we're going to have to move? Something next to the Y that I don't want. Yeah? I don't want this positive 3x. So when we practice that up above on your guided notes, how would I move a positive 3x to the other side? Yeah. We're going to subtract 3x. Subtract 3x. Subtract 3x. And Dorian, what's 3x minus 3x?
It just cancels.
That just cancels out. That's gone. So what's on the left-hand side now?
Y.
Just the Y. That's exactly what we wanted. We got the letter by itself. And on the right, we have that. So now, if I just number these, equation 1 and 2, you don't have to number them, but equation 1 and 2, that's what we're looking at now. We don't need what was in the middle anymore. We're done with it. We fixed it. So the letter is by itself. Okay. So now, look at the equation where the letter is by itself. And what do I do on the right-hand side? I have to insert something. Anyone remember what we insert? Yep. Yep. I'm going to put parentheses around the 6 minus 3x. And then what about in the top one? Where am I going to put parentheses there? Yeah, around whatever letter was by itself right here. Around the Y. Everything from here is the same as what we learned on Wednesday. So now we're going to change that Y. So let's copy down what we have so far. You know what? I'm just going to do it all under step 1 because if you want to go down to step 2 because you need more space, you can just write right over the lines for step 2 because we're not going to use them. Okay, but I've got more space, so I'm just going to go over here. We have a 2. We have the x plus, and then 3. But don't put the y. The y is going to change. And then we can put equals 4. What are we going to change the y to? Yeah.
6 minus 3.
Yeah. This goes right there. Because this tells us y equals this stuff. So change y to what the formula tells us to. 6 minus 3x. And now we'll solve that equation. And we'll get x. I'll probably go down to step 2 to do y. But again, you guys don't have to write this down. Because it's the same steps as yesterday. So don't write it again. Okay, what property do I have to use to get rid of this 3 in front of the parentheses. Just kind of simplify it. Yeah. Yep. I got to distribute it. And what's 3 times 6?
18.
18. And what about 3 times negative 3x?
-9.
Negative 9.
X.
X. Okay, so we've got distributive. What else can I do on the left-hand side? I can combine like terms. I see 2x and negative 9x. How do those combine? Good. Negative 7 x. So I just combine that with that. I still have the plus 18. And I still have the 4. Okay. What would be my next step to get negative 7x by itself? Yeah.
Subtract 18.
I'm going to subtract the 18. Very good. Just use my calculator. Well, I can just do it. 4 minus 18. That's going to be negative 14. So we have negative 7x equals negative 14. Yeah, I'm just going to move. Let's move it down a little bit. Let's give me a little more space. So negative 7x equals negative 14. Now what? Yeah, Michael. Sorry, Mike. Yeah, Michael.
Divide by -7 on the side.
Divide by negative 7 on both sides. And Micah, can you tell me what that gives me?
2.
2. So we get x equals 2. Okay, so we've got x. So we have already done steps 1, 2, and 3 on that worksheet. We found the first variable. Now, are we done? Caleb, how many answers do we always have to find when you do a system?
2.
2. Actually, I might have enough room to do it right here. What do I do with this number to get my last answer? Anyone help them out? What do we do with this number now? Because we still have to find y. Yep. Yeah, we were going to replace the x with 2, and we're going to pick. You know what? Let me just go like this. Just move all this over here. We're going to pick one of these equations, either the 1 or the 2. Does it matter which one we pick? No, it doesn't matter, but we want to try to pick the easiest one. So which one is easier here to plug back into? Equation 1 or equation 2? I would pick equation 2 because it already has y by itself. So take that number, put it right there, and that's going to be your answer for y. So y equals 6 minus 3. And Finn, what am I filling in for x? 2. 2. So y equals 3 times 2, Sophie? So that's 6 minus 6, which is 0. And that's it. That's the whole problem. So the only extra step was rearranging this first to get a letter by itself. So we'll try one more of those, and then that'll be it. I think I had 2 more, but yeah, 1B and 1C. Let's look at both and see which one. Okay, so that's 1B. It's kind of the same thing. That's 1C. So that's pretty much the same thing too. Let's do 1B. Okay, so do we have a letter by itself on the left side? There you go. John. Do we have a letter by itself on one side of the equal sign? Which letter? So there's nothing next to that X at all? Yeah, there's something next to it. So do we have a letter all by itself on one side of the equal sign? No, we don't, but we need to make it so we do. Which equation here has a letter with no number attached? Yeah, top one, go for the top one. And which letter doesn't have anything attached to it? The X. This is what we want to get by itself. So I'm just going to write this one down right here. How would we get this X by itself so the 2Y isn't next to it? Yeah? If we add 2Y here, we're going to get 4Y. Yeah, let's subtract. So subtract 2Y. Subtract 2Y. Emily, what's 2Y minus 2Y? Crosses out. And what's on the left-hand side now? So that's the right side. But how about the left? X. That's exactly what we wanted. We wanted a letter by itself. Okay, so we got that. Now, can anybody tell me what I'm going to put parentheses around in the top one? Yeah. Okay. And can somebody else tell me what I'm going to put parentheses around in the bottom? Yeah. The X. And now we're going to change that X. So let's copy down everything we have. 5. Don't write X because we're going to change that. What am I going to change this X to? Yeah. What is that? You only have like 4 minutes. Can you wait, or is that? Okay. I mean, yeah. So, what are we going to change this X to? Yeah. Yeah. Put what's in the parentheses. Right there. Now, what property do we use to get rid of this 5? And what's 5 times negative 7, Lexi? Negative 35. And 5 times negative 2y? Perfect. And we still have the 3y and 7. Okay, we can combine like terms. What's negative 10y and 3y? Yeah. Negative 7. We lost something. Y. Good. Negative 7y. And now, what are we going to do with that negative 35? Yeah. We're going to divide by negative 7 in a second, but we have to do something different with that negative 35. Yeah, we have to add it. So the negative 35s cancel out. And now we can divide. What would we divide by on both sides? Yep.
6.
Yeah, I think you're thinking ahead a little bit. So divide by negative 7. And what's 42 divided by negative 7? Negative 6. And now you would just have to fill that negative 6 in. Right there. And you would know what X is. Okay, I'm not gonna do that right now. But we can practice another one of those if you want before the test tomorrow. We could probably do one or two before the test. So homework tonight is the 5.2 Part 2 worksheet, and we'll review that before the test tomorrow. And I'll be after school today if you need to check in with me.